All right. Appreciate jumping into the live stream here. We're just going to kind of go through Madden a little bit and just do some initial impressions on it and what it looks like. And I've had a chance to kind of play around with it a little bit, so I'll probably spend about the next hour kind of going through it. But went through and started playing around with a lot of like the franchise, for example.
EA Sports.
I've been playing
It's in the
around
game.
with turn that down a little bit. And just seeing how it's actually performing and just some of those initial impressions. So, hey, lovely LT, how's it going?
Wow, he just took off on that one, and he might have just won the game for
So,
him.
hopefully this is coming across okay and everything is performing as intended. I did some testing and we'll see what it does. Hey, White Knight. So, right now I'm going to go through, and I've already kind of played a little bit of the franchise mode and kind of toyed around with some of that, and I'm happy to say franchise has actually got some love this year, which finally. And so kind of diving into a little bit here. So that's franchise, which is what I've been playing here recently. Went through the preseason a little bit, and then playing now is kind of self-explanatory, or just diving into current. Ultimate Team, I haven't played too much of yet, but I'm also not an Ultimate Team person. So I went through and bought the Ultimate Edition just so I could have the early access to the game. So that way, one, doing the live stream, and then I'll have some more impressions probably, hopefully later in the week. We'll see what happens there. But you also have Face of the Franchise, which I haven't touched in a little while. So after the what was it? The Longhorn one? I think it was last year. I attempted to play some of that, and then before that, I tried a little bit of the previous year, but haven't had too much time in Face of the Franchise over the last couple years because, quite honestly, it's just been boring. If I want to go watch that, I'll just go watch a CW show, and it's pretty much what I can expect. Play with friends is just typical online play, so nothing too out of the ordinary. One thing I did want to call out here real quick, and I have no idea where this is going to be, but in here, in the settings, it gives you the difference for video, and it gives you the option for both quality and performance. I've been playing with both of them, and I can't really tell a difference too much. So I've just been playing things on quality just because it looks a little bit better. But I didn't notice a huge difference when it came to the actual performance, other than some like just random hitches here and there. But so we'll dive into franchise mode here. And if there's any questions, let me know in the chat what kind of questions you have, and if I can answer them, I'll make sure to do so. But primarily go through some of the gameplay. One thing is in franchise, it does give you a ton more to do in relation to previous years. So again, I just kind of went really fast through the preseason, so that way going into just the regular season, it gives you a little bit more. So you can set like season goals. And
meeting your season goal comes with higher rewards.
I mean, 4 wins is kind of let's say 7 wins just for the heck of it. And then commit. And you can do this for a lot of the game. So draft class, camp stands out. So like you can go through when you go through the like this here. Skip because it's boring. So you can see which ones they can go through. And then you also have different things that you can start to take a look at when it comes to renegotiations. So you can do all the contract negotiations, which you kind of could do in the past, but this gives you a little more to do with. You also have opening day, so you can kind of set what the strategy looks like in the particular games. You can hire and assign scouts. So if you want like a wide receiver scout or different things like that, especially if you're missing gaps in your team. So that way you can go after those. Again, here's the weekly strategy, and then manage staff. You can actually go into the staff options and, defense, offense, head coach, and then you can start to look at the talent tree, which goes a little bit more in depth. Blah, blah, blah. So you can start to go through, and it's kind of like skill trees, so to speak. And so you can see up in the upgrades in the upper portion, it says upgrades available. And so you can start to add upgrades to these different teams. So it's pretty cool that it gives you, and you have that for each coach that you have, which is, I haven't seen how useful it is yet, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see how that goes. To dive into the game itself, just skip and simulate. So one thing you'll notice, especially when it comes to the graphics, and I think this is probably the biggest change from previous years, has been, I think they call it Field Sense now. Field Sense. And so Field Sense is essentially, in Madden, you have animations, and those animations are basically interacting with different animations in the game. And so that kind of defines if somebody gets tackled or not, for example. But when it comes to animation chaining, which is essentially what Field Sense is, it's kind of like adding on to the existing thing. So you could have different animations chained to each other. So it's not necessarily a completely new system like I think they are showing it as or touting it as, but it is something that does add a little extra to the game. I will love the day when Madden is actually more of a physics-based game, and it's, you know, objects are actively interacting with other objects, and the physics are actually, you know, facilitating those things, as opposed to just predetermined animations that are if this, then this kind of thing, if that makes sense. So, let me know if the volume for the game is okay, so that way you can hear the commentary and the field and all that kind of fun stuff. Now I can make sure to adjust it as needed. But right now I have it on quality mode, so this is what you're going to be looking at in this. And right now I'm playing this off of a Series X. So
as the Raiders take over on offense, we get to see the man who has been the leader of this team for 9 seasons now.
And I'm a Raiders fan, so I'm going to play as the Raiders.
In the midst of a tumultuous 2021 season, the Las Vegas Raiders really turned to their quarterback, Derek Carr, to not only drive their
Okay, so just like in previous seasons, you still have X Factors. You have multiple X Factor tiers now. So you'll see there at the top. And it also gives you a little extra. Here, I'll show as soon as I do this. Let's do a run. And then you'll notice at the bottom right, it'll give you like different things that the home team can do, or the visiting team, or all those different things.
On the ground, it's Jacobs to start the drive. And they're able to get
so right now I'm just playing on Pro. Nothing crazy. You'll still see defense sometimes on the DB side still has horrifically sticky hands, so they will make interceptions that don't make a ton of sense, but
on first down, they go with Jacobs again. Call it a gain of 4 on first.
You'll also notice they call it 360 movement, I think it's called. I mean, they're really getting some good marketing terms out of it here. But it's essentially where it gives you a little more finer detail of movement over the person that you're controlling. And then the other piece that they're really doing a lot of is the passing game. So the passing game now, you have a little more fine-tuning where you can, kind of similar to last year, where you have the ability to lead people, lob, place pass, and then you can also do additional things as I was going through the tutorial on it. So it gives you a little more nuances on the passing game. The running game is pretty similar to how it was last year. So you probably won't see a ton there. The field sense is impacting a lot more of the running game as you're playing it. Yeah, and cool stuff. Man 22 I thought was... I wasn't the biggest fan of it just because I'd already been playing it since like Madden 19, and it was something that they were just doing very iterative approaches to. And so it was something that was just mediocre in a lot of ways. In Madden 23, the field sense thing is pretty cool. It just adds a little bit more, so it doesn't feel like such a, you know, reskin, so to speak. So they also have a thing where they added when you're trying to truck somebody, assuming you can get it early enough, you can just tap the A to try to break through. I don't remember if that was in the last couple seasons of Madden, but something to keep in mind. And you'll notice as I'm running with Jacobs, Jacob has a relatively high agility, so he's able to change directions pretty easily. Lower skilled running backs, you won't have that ability. It's one of those where you just pick a gap and you're probably just going to have to break it because you won't have the option to do anything else. So little things like that that you're going to see as far as nuances with the game itself. The Raiders right now, I think they're overall 81 and Chargers were 84, so they're pretty evenly matched. You'll also notice some of the hot routes will depend on the team that you're using. And it's kind of interesting on that one because when you're going through the tutorial and things, on the hot routes, it actually gave me the ability to use the directional pad. But in game, it hasn't given me that option. So basic things like being able to run a certain kind of fade or a I'm blanking on the other kind of things that you were able to do. You had a fade, you had the different kind of routes that you could run on it. So that was missing, but might just be the team that I'm using too that is doing that.
Working from the gun, it's Carr. And it's complete to Adams. And he's brought down after a very nice
Something that you'll end up noticing as well is a similar issue to previous years, and it makes its return here, is when a person is interacting with one or multiple defenders, and then you'll end up seeing a whole bunch of defenders, and they're all just kind of bouncing around off each other because it's not like they know what's going on. And then finally you'll kind of like just fall down. So you'll see that happen quite often again in this year. And I think the field sense piece kind of makes it worse in that sense, because then you'll start to see people bouncing off of each other multiple times before you finally go down. So
here's Jacobs. And he is in.
Different things like that you'll see as you're playing the game. This is a nice new cinematic, so this is brand new for this year when you end up doing that. You'll see a lot of the celebrations and all those things look a lot better. The let's see, I think it was like Madden 19 through 22 has been a lot of reskinning, so you'll see a lot of reused assets. You'll end up seeing a lot of reused celebrations. So like the Super Bowl from Madden 20, 21, and 22 were I think all the same for a lot of that. I haven't played the Super Bowl yet, so I'm not sure if it's the same here yet, but something I'll end up taking a look at. And yeah, Black Scorpion, the player movement is a lot better in this game. It's more fluid in a lot of ways, and depending on your person that you're controlling will, I think, depend. Because if you have somebody that's like an overall 60, they're not going to be able to cut as well or as fast, and so it'll be like kind of like moving a freight train. So it really depends on the player that you're using. I'll show you here on defense on some of that here.
So this will come out to the 25. Los Angeles taking the field, led by Justin Herbert, third-year man out of Oregon, whose career is off to an incredibly productive start.
It feels like hyperbole, but it's actually reality.
All right, so I'll play as a lineman so you can get a view of what that looks like.
Never seen before in the NFL. He's one of only 9 quarterbacks.
And I'm not sure what my game plan was here, so I'll just wing it.
And made the Chargers a top 5 offense for the first time since 2010. He's also the only quarterback to ever throw at least 30 touchdowns in each of his first 2 seasons and set a record for completions over that same span.
3 yards on that last carry.
So I'll end up playing a little bit of press coverage.
Now Herbert with it, looking to pass. Got his man. It's Williams.
And one thing I noticed with this game is kind of like how in the NFL it is today. It is very, what's the best word? They will throw the flag exceptionally fast from the ref's perspective if you even remotely hit the quarterback after they've even remotely released the ball. So roughing the passer I've gotten quite a few times at this point just because of that. Even if they've only let go of the ball like very, very quickly, and it's just super quick. I've gotten a couple of fouls that way. I've gotten more roughing the passer than even roughing the kicker because I was trying to test that and see what kind of time frame I was there. The refs are also kind of a hot mess. They're still as ugly as ever, but you still have challenge plays in here as well. I've only used it a couple times, and my guy got steamrolled.
Doing exactly what he needs to do. How about him work his way to the outside, made sure he secured the catch, and then anything after that, we count that as a bonus. And indeed, he gets enough for the first down.
Herbert on first down now.
Yeah, the players would cut like they were ice skating. Definitely, it was rough, and especially if you were wanting to make a quick cut. In previous Maddens, you'd almost have to do kind of like a juke to make them do some kind of course correction super quick, so you can make an adjustment. And even then, it was not all that great.
What a completion there! Big time arm strength. Very nice route.
So now I'm just kind of playing around with the 3-4 with these linemen.
Back to the air. The completion good.
DBs, I would still say their AI is still not that great. They're not the brightest people out there, regardless of, the higher their overall, the better like field vision they'll have. But generally speaking, especially if you're playing a zone and you have less than ideal DBs, they're probably easily going to get knocked off the play. Or as you're noticing, I'm playing a lot of zone defense right now just to kind of show what that looks like. The DBs are just kind of, taking camping trips in the zone and then not doing much with it. So still not the brightest. Same thing with the linebackers, you'll notice, especially as they drop back into any kind of pass defense. Running wise, depending if they'll scrape the line or not, I haven't noticed it, but
to keep their drive alive.
On first down, it's Herbert. Ebron caught left side. And they're going to get this down inside the 15.
Nice rhythm throw there on first down. He located his tight end, made a nice easy pitch and catch.
Hoping he can break.
And I've also noticed that the I'm not sure what just happened there, but the coaching program, like you'll end up having like the game plan plays and stuff like that, which will then affect directly the coach suggestion plays that you end up seeing. So far, I haven't been the biggest fan of them. If you're brand new to the game, they can be super useful if you're not familiar with the different lineups or the different kind of plays that you can run. So stuff like that, it's definitely useful. But as you get a little bit more into the game and get a bit more advanced, then yeah, you'll definitely end up seeing they're not the greatest. Right now I'm just using them to show you the differences in them.
Herbert now. He'll get this out wide to Eckler. At a minuscule gain of maybe a yard from the 6.
The injuries are kind of comical too. I won't lie.
The Chargers shaken up on that last play. Well, you always hate to see injuries, especially tough here in week 1. Just hoping this is nothing serious. We'll take a quick timeout.
Let's send them all. Why not? Let's see what happens.
Big play if you think about it right now.
I'll probably get burned on it, but why not?
It's 3rd and goal. Out of the gun, Herbert. He finds his receiver.
It's like even with stuff like that, even man-to-man. Because you can go through, and I like that you have the ability to, like on the coverage side of things, you can go ahead and press coverage, or you can play loose. You can play the sideline, or you can play inside, depending on how you want to go about it. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, defensive line. It's kind of weird, and it also depends on the offensive line seems okay depending on how you end up doing it, but the defensive line, if you have really poor outside, you'll probably never get to the quarterback.
The first Sunday nighter of the new season, and how about this for a matchup? The Buccaneers and the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree, Sid. I at least like that there's like the field sense does feel better in this game. So I'm glad that they have started to make more strides toward that. The plays themselves, it still feels kind of scripted in a lot of ways, even with the animation chaining happening.
They'll begin on the ground with Jacobs.
So you'll notice here, Jacobs is typically high in terms of just overall agility and speed, and so it's easier to make cuts and things like with that. The offensive line for the Raiders is actually decent this year for once, so it's making life a little bit easier on the run game. The pass game is still kind of iffy, especially against a team that has a really good defensive line. Then they just kind of like mow through my line like they're butter, and it's a pain in the ass. But
they'll stay on the ground with Jacobs.
One thing that has been nice is that during the game, after you go through halftime and they go ahead and you can readjust your game plan after that, it is kind of nice that the AI on whichever side actually does kind of address it a little bit. So if you're running a ton, then it'll make an adjustment to try to counteract that, which is really nice.
It'll be a gain of 5, but still about 3.
That's cool. They gave you the new man for free.
Now it's 3rd down. Not a ton of room available on that, but he made use of what space was available.
I typically like to play from the gun. And there are still plays in the game that are still money plays, so you still have that.
Throwing now is Carr. And finding Keelan Cole.
And that'll probably be a hold.
Taken down. Plus, there's a penalty flag in the backfield. They may get 15 more on top of this.
Like I said, roughing the passer is a big thing.
I've got to imagine that's the last thing you want to see week 1.
I've actually seen more roughing the passers in the game than I have any kind of pass interference, which has been really weird.
But boy, are you on target. This is just depending on him to take him through 17 games, so you definitely can't let him get hurt right now. The final shot here before half for Carr. And he's going to go down. They
And so my
right around the 30.
tackle got, and that was Khalil Mack. So like I said, if you have a person on the defensive line that is really good like Khalil Mack, then it can make it a challenge to have your offensive line, especially if your offensive line isn't all that great. Let's see, throw medium and defend medium, why not?
Okay, Coach, yeah, adjustments likely going to play a big role in this third quarter.
Kicking game, I don't think anything really changed. So, not wasting any time on it. Same thing with punting.
And no return here for Reed. This will be a touchback. Out comes the Chargers as they'll go on offense now to start this third quarter. It's a tie football game here. What do you think Charleston's message was at halftime?
And then you'll see here in like concepts, for example, depending on your knowledge of football, some of this can be useful, some of it not so much. And right now,
let's just go out and play our best football and win one for us.
On first down, Justin Herbert.
the guy falls down. Oh, that was actually nice by the DB there.
Based on the play we just saw there, he might not be the guy.
Yeah, I agree, Black Scorpion. The biggest challenge I've seen has been that the money plays pretty much still work for the most part. I typically try to avoid them because there's no challenge and just playing the same play over and over again. That's not any fun. But if you're running outside like sweeps all the time, the defense will actually start to adjust for it, which is actually pretty cool. So I've noticed that it has been doing that to a certain extent. But then if you're doing a lot of sweeps, then you can just start running it right up center, and then it, kind of goes out the window. So different things like that you'll end up running into. Just stands there, why not? Defensive breakdown, not sure what just happened there, but you'll see that every once in a while too, especially when you have any kind of pick play, where if you have somebody doing like a crossing route, you go ahead and just have them picked off. That happens a lot and is easily exploitable in this game, just like it was in previous games. So it's pretty easy to get, DBs or linebackers knocked off.
It's taken a while for this offense to get going, a little creaky at the start, but they're oiled up now. A nice throw there, and they're really putting together a good drive.
Running on first down, Eckler. And he's heating up at the line of scrimmage. Might have got the yard down to the 16. The run only got a yard. Here's 2nd and 9. Once more, here's Eckler. And they get to him quickly here as he stopped right around the 13. Only gets 3 yards there on the heels of the 1-yard pickup. Sets up 3rd and 6. They are in need of 6 yards here if they hope to move the chains. Justin Herbert looking to pass. That's complete.
So my guy playing the flats right there didn't bother to come up and challenge the ball. He just sat there until the ball carrier was in his zone. So random things like that are just kind of a pain. And it's been happening in Madden for eons at this point. I don't think the defense got any actual adjustments this year, so it's not something that you'll probably notice anything for. The biggest changes were primarily just the field sense, and I think there were some other changes, but materially not that big. But that's something that you'll end up noticing is just my guy falls down. Is defense is still kind of dense and doesn't really attack the ball half the time, and then only really ends up coming in as if the ball carrier is in the general area. So different things like that as you're playing through the game. I am glad that the presentation is a lot better though. That old presentation was getting super old. So I'm glad for that.
They sputtered a little bit, but it looks like they found the formula. I would expect them to go back to that more and more as this game develops.
No, right now I'm just playing on All Pro.
And that makes the score 14-7.
On Madden, you'll see it ends up being a bit different. It's a little more aggressive, and you'll notice that, at least from what I've seen so far, the difficulty spike, just like in previous Maddens, pretty similar you'll end up seeing here as well. So I didn't see anything drastically different.
You and I said at intermission, feels like we're set up for a good second half. Well, the other side scored, and now it's up to them to answer. How do they respond here with their first drive of the second half?
Well, bottom line is they just saw the ball go in the end zone against their defense, and they saw what good offense looks like. They believe they've got a good offense as well.
So now you'll notice that my line is not doing all that great. So they're starting to make changes there.
2nd and 10, third quarter of the season opener.
So I'm going to have to start holding back, running back to be able to block more.
To throw his car. Slant to Adams. 9 yards, and that leaves him just short, so it'll be 3rd and less than a yard. Carr gonna throw. Finding room at midfield, and he'll be taken down.
So a lot of this I'm going through just doing 4 verticals, but I'm making hot routes as I go. So that way I can just make the adjustment.
Throw with Carr. The slant connects with Devontae Adams. And he's going to get this inside the 30. They're going to hurry back to the line now.
So you'll notice slants make it just pretty easy.
On first down, Carr.
Got the safety to pull them in. Down it goes. So you'll see that like there is still easy to, you know, manipulate certain things, especially if I notice this a lot when it comes to hurry up offenses, because you're basically keeping the defense out there and they're not able to swap out a lot. So if you get a team into a 4-3 and you just keep, you know, doing a hurry up offense, 4 verticals, and then you're just making hot routes and adjustments at the line, it's pretty easy to manipulate the defense into doing different things and not being able to guard against it very well. Especially if you see success on it on a single play, then you just keep pressing that. You'll be able to push through it pretty easily.
We got a brand new ball game, all even after that last touchdown, so every drive now becoming a little more critical here in the second half. Herbert setting up to throw on first down. Out left, he's got it to Everett.
You'll see that right there. Went to do a hit stick, and the animation didn't do anything. It just bounced into it, and so things like that, I'm pretty sure you've seen it probably in the past as well, where an animation should have triggered, but nothing happened. And so very similar, where you end up seeing a whole bunch of people just bouncing into each other for no apparent reason. Still happens here.
A shotgun snap for Herbert.
And then again, the guy taking a camping trip out there for no apparent reason.
But not before he takes it inside the 40. The Chargers passing game rolling a bit here. They've got another first.
Jalen Guyton was undrafted out of North.
Especially considering I have people going out to the flats and they're not doing anything.
And makes catches.
Herbert's throw into the hands of his receiver Guyton. And he's going to get a solid gain of 9 before being brought down. 2nd and right at a yard.
So those are things that you'll end up noticing with this game. Let me look at some of the other things that Madden mentioned that they were coming up with. Accidental screenshot.
Stadium in Inglewood. All even as we get ready to start the 4th.
So field sense was the big thing that they're touting. Franchise was the other big piece because they actually did something for it this year, which was nice. They haven't touched anything in franchise in, I don't even know how long at this point. It's been, geez, probably like 6-7 years.
To me, it seems that these guys really did a nice job of paying attention during the scouting report meeting. And you know, Brandon, when they do those, they talk about the top plays that these guys like to run, the best runs for the top running back.
Basically the franchise they keep touting, but that's basically just a CW show.
Herbert with a connection to Allen for a Charger first down.
Ultimate Team, I'll probably never play it, even though I got the Ultimate Madden version just to get early access. I just never play the MUT modes.
From the 20 to the 19.
Well, they certainly had success throwing the ball on this drive. And
yeah, there really isn't any updates in the pass defense that I've seen. They're still borderline inept. They do at times, like I said earlier, they do have like a stickier hands.
We're going to get it again on second down. Oh, no, he lost the football.
So if something is thrown in their general direction, sometimes they are a better receiver than the actual receiver, which sometimes is weird, but yeah, the defense, especially the defensive backs, the linebackers are pretty bad at this too. But so even though I'm playing people in the flats right now, and I even have a spy out there, they're still finding gaps in the defense.
Not a big window to throw. Coverage wasn't too bad there.
Yeah, they had him under wraps pretty well, but somehow able to muscle his way open.
Oh, let's just blitz the hell out of him. Why not?
Second and goal from the 1. Trying to punch it in with Eckler.
You'll notice one of the animation changes there missed, and so he was falling backwards, but nothing happened. So he just started going forward again. So it's nice that the animations themselves feel a lot better. There's still plenty of work that they could be doing on it. There's still a lot of bugs I've noticed as well, especially when it comes to performance-wise. You'll see things like hitches and frame rate are still a thing. I'm not sure how you're having frame rate hitches in a Madden game, but you'll see that a lot.
And a nice return sets him up pretty good here right at the 30-yard line.
But yeah, that's the biggest thing. It does make a world of difference, so I'm glad that they went through and started doing some changes to that. But definitely plenty of room for improvement.
See if they can cobble something together on this drive.
And so you'll notice the X Factor's up and running for them.
Now on first down. It's caught here by
and things like that over the middle continuously are, you know, things that you can easily exploit out of the defense, because unless they're playing an inside zone against it, it doesn't really matter. You can just keep doing it over and over again.
Some good games around the league here early in week 1, and this one's shaping up to be as good as any of them as we come up on a 1st and 10. Meanwhile, Carr's throw taken in by Adams. And he is brought down, but not before reaching the 30. And a nice gain of 21 yards.
So, normally in games I typically will, especially at higher difficulty levels, I'll end up running a lot just for ball control and clock control. Sometimes the AI will adjust to it, sometimes it won't. So it's kind of interesting to see what it'll end up doing.
Now, Carr again. He'll get this underneath to Jacobs.
So, for the most part,
marked out at about the 26-yard line.
I guess he has a foot injury. I'm not sure on that one.
Here, we've got an injured player. More from LA in a moment. Ball at the 26.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of buying a bunch of players and getting all the cards. I'd rather spend money on other stuff.
Carr to throw.
So you'll notice a lot of things, especially when it comes to post routes. If you can get them in the different zones, because you'll notice that the Chargers are playing a lot of zone coverage right now, it's easy to get things into the gaps. The biggest thing is if your line is good enough to actually give you enough time. And that'll just come down to the team. But I don't think anything in terms of, I think O-line or D-line, I don't think outside of the field sense stuff anything was really done with them though. So, different things that you're going to have to take into account. The game itself is a lot better than last year, so that's definitely a plus, especially with the field sense stuff. Ankle sprain. So, it'll just depend on personal preference. I would say personally that it's better than last year's, which isn't saying much because that's not a huge bar to go overcome. But bad physics on the, yeah, non-physics. He just kind of bounced backwards.
marched it down the field, and a lot of that was through the passing game.
So you'll still see that the animation chaining has a lot of work to be done. It is better than previous years, so that's good. But if it's something that if you're a really big Madden fan, I'd give it a shot. But the flip side of that is, what, within, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, then you'll end up seeing this come to EA Play. So in that case, you just end up getting it for free anyway. So it just depends on whether or not you want the game now, or if you're willing to, you know, wait for it.
Now, meanwhile, a pass that should have been intercepted, but it winds up falling incomplete. So line of scrimmage still at 39 on 2nd and 10. Now Herbert. And that falls to the ground, incomplete. A nice job of bodying him up defensively, and now it brings up 3rd down.
We'll see what happens.
3rd and 10 after back-to-back incompletions.
That is a nice little touch. It tells you where they need to get to be able to kick a field goal. But again, zone coverage in this game is not that great. And fumble. Oh, that was comical, I won't lie. So, I'll take that. So that's my first pick 6 in this game.
One big play. A lot of times, of course, it's the offense. Here, it's the defense coming up.
Not pick 6, fumble 6 in that case.
And now, before the ball changes hands,
and you'll see that with the booth reviews.
The question, was the knee in fact down before this ball comes loose?
And sometimes this is, you know, it'll be overturned, sometimes it won't.
Remember, you also need clear possession of football afterwards. This is a tough one to overturn.
So things like that you'll notice quite often.
Was down, and that will not be ruled a fumble. The Chargers going to signal for the first of their timeouts, as they'll stop it with a little over 30 ticks to go in the football game. The fumble on 1st down. Now here's 2nd down.
So you'll notice zone is, I keep testing it just to kind of see what it does. Like on that one, had 2 linebackers just sitting there taking a camping trip and didn't do anything.
Now another timeout called for by the offense.
Now, to be fair, the Raiders secondary isn't the greatest. So there is that.
From the 34 now, here's 1st and 10. Eckler now between the tackles. Credited with a 1-yard gain there to make it 2nd and 9.
So now they're just burning clock.
You got to get back to the line of scrimmage because you're saving that timeout to make sure you have a chance to get your kicker out there for the big shot.
Yeah, Paul, I'm not a big fan of mud either. Things that, me personally, it's just not my thing. I'm just not going to spend money on this or FIFA or any other kind of EA Sports when it comes to any of that kind of... Well, that was an ugly kick. So, yeah, other things I'd rather spend my money on. But same thing when we're coming into Call of Duty, especially if you're playing Warzone or Vanguard at this point. Any cosmetic literally makes no sense. So, but to each their own. Let's go here.
The Raider offense set to get this drive started. Tie game, probably time for one final play here. What do you do in this spot?
Now you're thinking about Hail Mary.
So I'm holding back a few folks.
All the way towards the end zone and give yourself a chance. Your time management sheet tells you with this amount left on the clock, you don't get cute and try and get 2 plays.
And this is going to be
Oh no!
Picked off by Bryce Callahan, and he will be taken down, and that
So you'll notice things like that too. Just chucking it up there.
So 4 quarters wasn't enough, and we are off to overtime. Don't change that dime. It's a little teaching moment here. Overtime rules. Remind us how this goes, partner.
Okay, so in the past, we had sudden death. First team to score wins.
So yeah, Black Scorpion. In this case, $60. If you're not a diehard Madden fan, you could probably just wait for it to hit EA Play, and you'd be fine there. You'd probably end up having to wait, what, about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, typically after the NFL season is wrapped. But yeah, it just depends on how big of a Madden fan you are. Me personally, I already bought it just so I could have early access to it, but if I didn't pay for it first, I probably would have spent the $60 just because of the field sense stuff, and I'm actually enjoying it, especially considering I haven't enjoyed a Madden title since Madden 19 at this point. So I probably put down the $60 for it because I'm enjoying it, but unless you're a fan of Madden and it's something that you really want to play, I would just hold off for it to hit EA Play and then just play it at that point.
From the 31. They'll run out of the gun with Eckler, and he'll be tackled at about the 35. They give him about 4 on the play, but he's marked short, so it'll be 3rd and about the length of the football. Back to throw here, Herbert. Open man, Parham, he's got him. And he is going to have the Chargers first down, as that'll be a pickup of about 5 as they convert on 3rd and inches. As a fan of the NFL, for an opener, you can't ask for much more than this. Overtime in week 1.
See what happens. It's actually the first time I've been able to do the overtime as well, especially with the different changes in the overall overtime rules.
So after the incompletion on first, now 2nd and 10. Herbert now. And he'll find Everett there, complete. He'll get only 3 there, so it leaves.
Keep checking the monitor. My daughter is asleep in the crib, so making sure she's still asleep.
Come up to the line of scrimmage. Going to throw on 3rd down with Herbert. And Allen's got it.
My defense is not doing all that great, and my defensive line isn't getting to the quarterback all that much either. So
2 minutes left in this overtime session, and still all time. So here's a 1st and 10 now in Raider territory at the 32-yard line. Justin Herbert looking to pass. And a quick throw here, that's complete.
So things like that actually look good.
Down at the 28-yard line.
So you can see the multiple things in there. And the funny thing with Madden is it's had that multi kind of thing before, where multiple people could all interact at the same time, but now it's giving it the ability to, N plus on that aspect of it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So even there, I'm like man-to-man shading out, and it didn't do anything.
He's going to have the Chargers first down as they're able to get the 3rd down conversion.
So
Shaping up to be a
sometimes
very
it's
efficient opening drive here in overtime.
And can you feel the tension building? Because I'm feeling it. All right, I've got the sweaty palms here with each play because of the enormity of what's going on. Each play means so much in overtime, and they're handling it well as this drive continues.
Now a timeout called for by the offense. They'll be down to just 1 remaining as we step aside here in overtime.
Let's just blitz everybody. Let's see what happens.
On the 10-yard line, it's 2nd and 1.
We'll go underneath.
Option play, and they'll give to Eckler. And he is met in his tracks.
So he pretty much just runs into the back of his lineman and doesn't do anything.
3rd down.
Why would have to the 9-yard run on the previous play? Getting 1 more yard wouldn't have been much of a problem. But apparently it was. And now it's 3rd down.
Yeah, that one going to be knocked away.
Hey, look at that. My DBs are showing up.
So here we go. Maybe the biggest.
So they kick a field goal, and then it'll be my turn.
Get them a lead here in overtime. Hopkins' kick is good, and they have regained the lead. Now remember, this one is not over. with time running short here in this overtime, that could very well be the game winner.
Yeah, remember now, the other team does get a possession, but when the
I'll
clock
have
runs
about
out, that's it.
30-ish
So now
seconds
the
to see if I can come back and win it.
To use up the majority of the clock and leave your opponent with little to no time left.
Phillips, he's not going to bring this
So
one
see
out,
what happens.
So they will begin the drive at the 25. The Vegas offense ready for their next possession. Well, it's pretty simple now. They need a field goal out of this drive.
So one trap that I'll typically end up falling into, especially when it comes to Madden in general, is going back to the same well multiple times, especially when
overtime gets extended.
the other team can't do anything about it. So slant routes do really well, post routes do really well. So it's like different things like that that you'll keep going back to that the defense just doesn't really pick up on sometimes. I'm not sure why. But don't expect the defense or the offense to be magically a lot smarter than they had been in previous years.
He hits Adams complete. And he'll have it past midfield almost to the 40 before
Wrong
being
button,
taken
but oh
down.
well.
Back-to-back receptions for him, and it's another first down. They like going to him in the slot. He catches another one.
I think this comes under the heading of until they stop him, why not go back to him? He has something going really well. Great working relationship with the guy throwing the ball, and they keep making the connection.
Now here's a pass on
A
first
rattled
down.
O-line. Oh no!
And not a common sight, at least on this drive. A momentary setback, though, for this passing game that has been moving well this series. Good thing for them, though. Still 2 more downs to connect.
I'm going to try to hit some outs to get to the sideline, stop the clock.
Here's Carr. The left side throw complete to Adams.
And inch my way down.
Down around the 35-yard line. Coming up here looking for 3 yards to pick up the first. Carr. Here's back-to-back catches for Devontae Adams. And he'll be out of bounds as he gets it down to the 30 there. Throwing his Carr.
So you'll see like that, I tried to do a lob pass, and for whatever reason, it didn't actually lob. And so it ended up being a short throw. So, different things like that. Yeah, Black Scorpion, like I mentioned, it's not gigantic. You'll notice that the movement system is a lot better. It's a little more fluid. It's the animation chaining. It does help in certain instances, but it's not anything ground-shattering. It's essentially the same as the previous system, but just an iterative advancement for it. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's anything drastic. Like I said, if you enjoy Madden, it's something that you really like, then yeah, it's gonna make your life a little bit better. But if it's something that, you know, Madden 19 through 22 and you were still, yeah, they're okay games, then yeah, I would just wait for EA Play and just do it that way. So, nothing drastic. I would say this is another iterative update to Madden, but it is a welcomed one with the field sense and especially with the franchise. Franchise has been updated and adjusted, which I am very grateful for. So it actually does give you more things that you can do with it. But generally speaking, if you can wait for Madden, I'd probably just wait until it hits EA Play, unless you're just a huge Madden fan and you're already buying it every year anyway, then you'll probably already pick it up. But generally speaking, it's been a fun game, and it's something that, like I said, iterative approach. But let me know in the comments as we continue moving forward if there's any questions that you guys have here. Let's see, just catching up on some of the other chat here. Yeah, Paul, it is, if you haven't played any of the previous Maddens, like especially 19 through 22, which were a lot of reskins to each other, then this one you'll probably find a lot more fun, because a lot of those changes that they were making during 19 through 22 were decent enough when packaged as a whole thing. And then as you went before that's when they started to get more into, it wasn't animation chaining or even animations in general. It was just blocks, so to speak, that were interacting with each other, which is why sometimes you'd end up getting hit by nothing and falling down in some of those older games. And then they started to add the animation interactions, which still isn't physics based. It still requires an animation to trigger for something else to happen. And this is like the next iterative approach on top of that, where animation happens and then engages with another animation and then potentially another animation. So it's one of those where I've personally been enjoying it, but like I said, unless it's something that you are a really big Madden fan, you could probably wait until EA Play. Otherwise, you probably already picked it up anyway. That calls it for me. So hopefully you've been enjoying this hour of gameplay with Madden. Hopefully I can start doing a bit more live streams. Work has been pretty hectic, so we'll see what happens there. But definitely trying to get more live streams in the future. So make sure to let me know if you're enjoying the live streams, what you want to see as a live stream. Because I can either do, for the most part, like Series X stuff. Sometimes I can even potentially do some PC games, which I just picked up, like Spider-Man, and have been playing that on the PC, which looks phenomenal, especially compared to the PS5 remastered version. So let me know what you want to see in content-wise and see if it's something that I can particularly facilitate. We'll see what happens there, but I'm going to close things down. Make sure to add any additional questions in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.